Joe, Andy Farrell was just up there and he said that in complimenting the Wallabies, he said the real Wallabies is the team that can beat the Springboks in Ellis Park. I was just wondering how you feel where this team has gone from there and how can we get that team back?
Yeah, that was a fresher, kind of more complete team probably at the time. We don't have massive strength and depth yet. I think that's a little bit of a slow burn, and it has to be built from the ground up. We made, I think there were 19 debutants last year in an effort to try to build a broader base of international players, but the accumulation of experience through that broader group is still, in its genesis really. At the same time, we've got to stay competitive at the top end. So I know I've mentioned it before around having a short-term focus but a long-term vision, and it is getting that balance. And I think as we start to get toward the end, we're probably disappointed with some of the end games that we've had, because it was something we took real pride in. We won a few games at the death, coming back, and even the Ellis Park one, being down early on in the game and coming back and winning it well. So I think as probably things accumulate with players having travelled a lot and played a lot, we're just not as competitive in that last quarter. Obviously today, I think with 20 minutes to go, we're down 22-14. We're still right in that game, and even I think when we had that 5 metre line out, we just couldn't quite get the execution and accuracy right, and there was some good pressure from Ireland, but at the same time our execution wasn't good enough, which then it afforded them 70% territory and possession pretty much in that second half. So they really controlled the flow of the game, and they controlled the space in behind and the aerial battle. And we know we're going to get more of that from France next week. They tend to kick a lot. I think everyone kicks a lot now with the way the game is set up. It's it's tough to carry a lot of ball, particularly through the middle of the field. So you're tending to go for competitive kicks.
So what in that game personally disappointed you the most from out there?
I mean the scoreline is obviously disappointing, because it got probably, I'd say, exaggerated somewhat in those last few minutes, and that can sometimes happen when you're chasing a game. I've seen enough games now to know that when you start to overreach and try to create opportunity, particularly with 14 against 15, then inevitably you lose a bit of your own equilibrium and allow a bit of opportunity or time or space to the opposition, and Ireland didn't need too many second invitations.
Early, it was a tough evening out there, Dublin. What are kind of the things that you're looking to address? Because as you said, France is a team that can use a aerial ball well. Are you using kick-catch coaches, or even looking Australian football in those sense?
Yeah.
Just whatever there is,
Yeah, we had some Collingwood coaches in with us this week, just observing and chatting. But the ball is very different, and the technique as well. I think a lot of it is players going up one-handed and just looking to create a bit of chaos, and then whatever comes up on the ground, it's a scramble. It's a mad scramble, which makes it difficult to control that aspect of the game. You've just got to try to get into the contest really effectively, and then get players around the contest to make sure that you get the best chance of getting anything that's left over from it.
You've obviously got a big last week, Joe. For you and Harry, been a hell of a long season. It's been a really, really tough spring tour. How on earth can you get this group together for one of the biggest challenges in world rugby?
Yeah, I guess I can try to add my experience and chat to the group. I've had some really good experiences at the Stade de France with massive respect for Les Bleus, but at the same time, I've got huge respect for the players and how they will try to make sure they're as well prepared for next week as they possibly can be. And as I said, 60 minutes in, it was 22-14. I honestly believe that if people write us off, we were written off before the Lions, we were written off before going to South Africa. I know that we didn't do ourselves justice in in that second half. At half-time, 19-14, I felt we really fought our way back into the game, and I think had a bit of the breeze in the second half, but didn't get the platform to use that, unfortunately. So I'm confident that we can still fight our way into that contest next week, and we're just going to have to make sure that once we land in Paris tomorrow, that we recuperate as best we can, have a really clear plan, and then just go after it as best we can.
Harry, Joe, I was going to ask you, Harry, sorry, about the line-out. Is that a source of frustration? Because for 55 minutes in the match, you rolled Ireland, breakdown, Cantor was great. When you got in scoring positions, you took your chances. But just the line-out, when you got those opportunities, it kind of came asunder a little bit and allowed Ireland to escape out of their own 22.
Yeah, it was really disappointing, our line-out tonight. We put ourselves in some good positions there, and our line-out really let us down there. And you don't have a part of your set piece functioning well, it really does put the team under pressure there, and it was quite disappointing because we pride ourselves on being quite good in that area, and we definitely let ourselves down there tonight.
Joe, sorry, Jack first.
Joe, can I just ask, at the end there was a huddle with the Australian team and coaching staff, but you weren't part of it. Was there a particular reason why you weren't part of that huddle?
No, I was just coming down out of the box, and I'm not sure what they talked about, but I'm sure Harry would have tried to kind of gather everyone together. I know we did one after the second test in the Lions game where players were kind of disillusioned and scattered everywhere, and it was just trying to get everyone together, and I think that's probably just good leadership from Harry.
And last week you asked Australian Wallabies supporters to keep faith. What do you say to them after this performance? Yeah, look, I just ask the same of them. We are working hard, and tiredness isn't an excuse. We have to put an 80-minute performance out there. We can't be 22-14 down and collapse like we did tonight. I think the yellow card certainly made things more difficult, especially if you're trying to overplay at that stage. When you're a man down, there's always going to be a bit of space somewhere. I thought it wasn't too dissimilar to Tyke Burns, actually. It almost looked like the player was in front of the ball carrier at the time, and I thought the referee got it right in the first place with it being a rugby collision. But once you've got that yellow card, you've got to be able to adjust and play well enough with 14, as we saw in the other test matches today. There are a whole deck of cards shuffled every weekend of an international. What did you think of James O'Connor's performance today?
Yeah, James, I thought he brought really good energy. Probably put a couple of really nice touch kicks in particularly that one that put us 5 metres out. We didn't take advantage of it, unfortunately. Made some really good tackles. I know that's not probably what the out half is valorised for, but he's such a competitor. I thought we probably overreached a couple of times passing long in those wet conditions, where I think maybe a shorter passing game,
and we'll have a look at that. And James is very good at self-analysis and having a look at the game, and you know, we'll obviously catch up as a team and try to break that down, his game and others' games.
Joe, notwithstanding you've been our second favourite Irish Australian to Ned Kelly for a long time, we were a bit
Thanks,
shocked,
Garrett.
even ourselves, that Mike Hansen, I know he's not on your side, but he is in Australia. We were a little bit surprised. I think our fans were very pleased and very shocked by his performance. It was kind of unexpected, although you must have a different opinion on that. What did you think of how he played?
Yeah, I thought he was super, and you know, his experience showed to the fore. I thought, you know, that there's probably a bit of a lack of experience in our back three. Maybe there's probably only 30 odd caps between the three of them. So I think Mac, he knows the game well. He's got good support though. I mean, James Lowe and young Tommy O'Brien is an excellent player as well. So yeah, unfortunately Mac was probably the standout Australian player on the field, and you know, I think he's got a great skill set and he's such a good competitor. He got into the kick contest really well, covered the backfield well, and those are the aspects of a fullback that you need to have covered well. I thought he got a little bit lucky with his third try. Tommy O'Brien, it looked like would stopped it, and the ball was just sitting there for him to pick up, and he didn't need a second invitation. He was very quick to, so you know, well done him.
One with Johnny, and then we'll finish here, please. Okay, thank you.
Joe, just you mentioned earlier on the strength and depth, building the squad. Obviously, looking at the positive aspects of the Lions series and this tour as well. Are you confident going forward, say, obviously when Les takes over as well, but say looking to the next World Cup and the State of the Union game in Australia and the squad you're building there, you know, this is you're obviously taking tough poison at the moment, or tough medicine at the moment, where you've got to, you know, you've got to go through that phase first to develop on it. You're going to be confident that in the next World Cup you're going to have a good strength and depth for your squad? Yeah,
I think we've proven really competitive with the biggest teams in the world. You know, we're 2 points down with 10 to go against the All Blacks. We're, you know, going to Ellis Park, getting that win, getting the win against the Lions in the third test. I think, you know, we've proven that at the top end we can compete. It's just developing that strength and depth. That does take time, you know, and there are players who are missing tonight, but there are players who are developing on the back of tough experiences. And, you know, I'd have to say that, you know, there were tough days when I first arrived at Leinster. I remember, you know, particularly tough day in Treviso. Yes, you're right, Derek. You know, you still end up as European champions at the end of the year. So I'm convinced that with the commitment these players show, they are a really good group of young men, and they're going to keep learning. As I said, inexperienced back three, they'll get something out of this game for sure. And in reviewing it and trying to step forward next week against France, I actually think it's an incredibly exciting opportunity for them, because I know that the question around what are we asking of the Australian public, we can't demand anything on the back of what we did in the last 10 minutes tonight, but I'd hope that they'd look across the whole game and just see how hard some of those players are working, and try to project that forward for us when we roll our sleeves up again next week in Paris. And you know, if we can be competitive in those first 3 quarters of the game, then I think if we can hold our form and keep working hard in that last quarter, we can be competitive.
Thank you very much.